Oh my. When I drove on campus Wednesday afternoon, it's funny, when you love a place and you've spent a good deal of time at a place, you develop this muscle memory. And I swear to goodness, I could have closed my eyes and navigated every road, every driveway here on campus with no problem. The bumps in the road came back, the speed bumps, I had my eyes closed, I could imagine exactly where they were, which means that HPA sticks with you. And it will stick with you as well, my fine friends. I'm honored to be here today to commence at commencement. I'm also honored to be in the same company as Mr. McKendry. About 6 weeks ago, I received an email from a gentleman who invited me to deliver these remarks at your graduation, this commencement exercise. And this individual said, now I'll be sending you my speech so we can make sure that your speech coordinates with mine. Well, like the second speech that he wrote and didn't send to Mr. McKendry, he never sent me his speech either. That's okay, Will. I know you. Members of the class of 2016, aloha. I'm so grateful to be in your presence today, and you know why? Because you're such a special class. You always have been, you always will be. And although you and I haven't seen each other for a few months, I've been following you all year long by way of phone calls, emails, shared videos, internet postings, texts back and forth during athletic contests. It's been a joy. To the individual members of your class, and you know who you are, who have stayed in direct contact this year with me and Mrs. Barnes, thank you so much. She sends her love, by the way. She would be here today with us, except we have a 10-month-old grandson, and she will be babysitting with him for 4 days that happen to coincide. One of them is this day, and so she was not able to make the trip. Oh, and by the way, Stephen, his middle name is Griswold, and they're thinking about calling him Grit. I also want to say, extend a big mahalo to Mr. McKendry, Mrs. Purdy, everyone in the advancement office, and especially Mr. Perry, board chair Greg Moores, and the world's greatest volleyball coach, Sharon Peterson, for sending along all sorts of information about you. You, a truly exceptional collection of young people, the simply amazing class of 2016. Oh, you can applaud, sure. Not for me, for them. Shortly, you will no longer be seniors. This was emphasized yesterday at baccalaureate. Instead, you will be alumni. But there's another noun that applies to you also. You know what that noun is? That noun is champions. Yours is a championship class. I know this because genuinely and generously, you have championed service as the theme of this academic year. Good for you. I know this because in academics, you have championed achievement, and like academic champions do, you've shared with each other. You haven't hoarded your knowledge, you've shared it. You have made each other better in your classrooms. And outside the classroom, oh my, what a year you have had. What a career you have had at HPA. Champions on the stage, in the residence halls, in your clubs, as cheer team members, in student government, in the garden, in your BIF and statewide athletic competitions, in your heartfelt conferences with your teachers and your advisors and your deans, and in dozens of other ways, including your college admissions. And as champions do, you're about to finish what you've started. You're about to complete your HPA journey, right? I heard that. And some of you are nodding in agreement, and I understand why. But I'm not sure you're correct. For you see, some journeys last a lifetime, and thank goodness they do. I suggest to you that your HPA journey is not ending today. And why? Because this school has bestowed 2 lasting gifts upon you. I'm going to call one the gift of roots, these being roots of stability. And I'm going to term the other one the gift of wings, those being wings of intellect, and I hope freedom. In a very real sense, and because of these gifts, your journey with HPA continues even as this new chapter in your life commences. You are forever part of HPA, and HPA is forever part of you. So I want to examine these gifts. The first one, the gift of roots. Seniors, whether you've spent 1 year here or 13 years here, you have serious roots at HPA. These roots run deep through classmates, unsurpassed faculty, caring administrators and staffers. These roots have provided you with nourishment at this, the most formative time in your lives to date. From HPA, you have a treasure trove of memories and lessons that if you're smart, and I know you are, you will carry with you always. Roots, they anchor, they stabilize, they sustain, they support. Roots promote continued growth. Roots can be people, roots can be events, roots can be even Friday flagpole comments from some old guy who used to urge you to be careful about who you hang with and what you put into your bodies. All those things can be roots. As your lives unfold, it's almost certain that you will experience tremendous moments of happiness. And because life is, well, life, you'll also have moments of deep despair. When these circumstances present themselves, look to your HPA roots for stability, for guidance, for comfort, and for inspiration. As depicted by our school's iconic symbol, and by the way, what great artwork on your yearbook this year. Will? Okay, brother. Great job, and what a fabulous yearbook as well. But I love this image of HPA's symbol because indeed it shows roots, not just branches and not just a depiction of wind. But as depicted by this school's iconic symbol, your HPA roots will always help you deal with every single situation that the winds of the world may blow in your direction, whether it's good, whether it's bad, or anything in between. Seniors, know this, believe in this. Gift number 2 from HPA to you, the gift of wings. Wings of intellect, wings of freedom. Figuratively, you will take flight from here on intellectual wings that your dedicated teachers and others at HPA have helped you to develop. Soon, you will know freedom as you have not known it before. One such freedom will be the freedom of speech. I'd like to spend a few moments talking about the freedom of speech. Sometimes I think it's imperiled. Freedom of speech is so very precious. When you enjoy true freedom of speech, it's like your words and therefore your ideas take wings. They take flight. Mr. Vitusek and I are familiar with a very famous judge from the 20th century. His name was Louis Brandeis. He was a legendary member of the United States Supreme Court, and his intellect was an intellect for the ages. Just as Brandeis once wrote, and I want you to remember this, the greatest dangers to liberty and freedom lurk in the insidious encroachment by officials who mean well, but who are without true understanding. Seniors, you're about to go off to college. So, this is sort of a rhetorical question. Of all the places you'd imagine where the freest of speech is cherished, what would be at or near the top of the list? It starts with a C. College. Brost got it. Brost gets so many things, doesn't he? I totally agree. Colleges should be near the top of any such list. And yet, over the course of many years, I suggest to you that free speech has been eroded at some of our most well-known colleges and universities. With your mind, with the intellectual wings you have formed here at HPA, you can help remedy this erosion. You can help restore this freedom. Now, don't get me wrong. Free speech should not be extended to the point where the health and safety of innocent people are endangered. And in higher education, we all know that certain rules need to be in place so that an environment conducive to learning is maintained. These types of limitations on freedom of speech make sense. It's not an absolute freedom, but it should be pretty daggone close. And yet certain college-centric limitations on free speech are, I believe, open to question. I'm going to spend a moment this morning bringing one of these to your attention. One example is called the free speech zone, which has been around since the late 1960s on numerous college campuses. Conceptually, a free speech zone is a designated place on campus where all ideas and opinions can supposedly be freely expressed. Some of the colleges you will be attending, and I've seen your list, some of your colleges have these so-called free speech zones. But does this practice reflect, as Justice Brandeis might ask, a true understanding of liberty? Perhaps not. For if the idea is to designate one area and only one area of campus as a free speech zone, then I ask you this: what does that mean for the rest of the campus? What is it, a limited speech zone? A restricted speech zone? A partially permitted speech zone? So apart from being logically suspect, so-called free speech zones are also subject to being administered so that free speech is delayed or curtailed. A case in point: not so long ago, a college student on the mainland wished to pass out copies of the U.S. Constitution, one of the most beautiful expressions of self-governance and freedom ever conceived. Campus officials informed this student that he could only distribute the Constitution in the free speech zone, the so-called free speech zone. Further, this student was told that because others had signed up to use the zone, he had to wait several days before he could pass out copies of this hallowed and revered document. Now you may say, oh, come on, Barnes, this couldn't really have happened. My young friends, this restriction on free speech not only could have happened, it did happen. Seniors, as a result of your academic program here at HPA, and thanks to this best faculty you could ever have, each of you is now what can be termed a critical thinker. Now, you're not fully developed as a critical thinker. In college, your critical thinking skills will continue to grow. And as they do, I suggest that you use these skills to examine and to question policies that, in your opinion, stifle anyone in the reasonable expression of her or his thoughts. Now it's time for a little visual display. Recognize it? Recognize it? Ms. Humphrey's fabled dinosaur. And fabled for good reason. As she was suggesting yesterday, be like the dinosaur who takes this tail and pounds back against conformity or silly rules. Ask for explanations. Don't just go with the flow. If something doesn't feel right to you, use that tail and get an explanation. Support with your words and actions a college community that stands for and believes in the active and robust exchange of ideas, some of which will be popular, but most importantly, some of which will not be popular at all. Think about that one. If you exercise your critical thinking skills and your dinosaur tail in support of free speech, you will take a major step toward making your college years as broad, as stimulating, as rich, and as fulfilling as they can be. Moreover, in standing up for freedom of speech, your actions will be echoing the words of President John F. Kennedy, who wisely observed that without liberty, all learning is at risk, and without learning, all liberty is in vain. Members of the absolutely fantastic class of 2016, I'm so proud of you and so happy for you. I feel so privileged to be in your presence today. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for this day and for all the days we spent together at a place we will never really leave, a place that will never really leave us, a place we know as HPA, a place we can and will always call home. May your roots here at HPA ground you in the fertile soil of integrity, compassion, perseverance, spirituality, and honor. In college life and beyond, may the wings of intellect lift you steadily and freely to the rarefied heights of personal achievement and global good. And at all times, may God bless you. May He keep you, and may He forever hold you in the palm of His hand. I love you guys. Mahalo.